Hello there, everybody. Caller back with Game 2, Flash versus Stork here, and this is going to be another repeat of a classic rivalry. Recently, they haven't played that many times, but let's not forget, Flash managed to beat Stork a couple of critical times about a year and a half ago, January or so of '08. In the both the OSL and the first GOM TV Invitational, he managed to school Stork, who was at that time schooling all the Terrans using his carrier builds. But Flash, of course, sort of semi-invented his Flash build, that early +1 attack. And since then, the Dinosaur Toss, well, he's been doing fine. I'm not going to say since then he's been struggling. He did win an OSL after all. But since then, Flash has generally gotten the better of their exchanges. However, Flash hasn't been playing that great recently. Stork has been playing alright, I guess, but Flash certainly has been a little bit weak sauce recently. I'm going to take a look at their last encounter. It was in December of 2008, and actually Stork won that encounter against Flash. So, maybe we'll see something.
I feel like Flash just has had the upper hand in their battle, the one between Stork and Flash. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's just because Flash studies his opponents better than Stork does. Stork just tries to play solid, not make any critical errors, and just stay in the game. He's the king of making no mistakes. Have to bring that up. Stork is going to be starting at the 3 o'clock position as the teal Protoss, of course. And at the 5:30 position, we have Flash in red. This is on Outsider, which statistically favors Protoss, I believe, a little bit, but I still think it's one of those maps where it just comes down to creativity, and who uses the map to their advantage. This is actually the one map I want to see these two players play on, because Flash, he's so smart, and I mean, you've got the Flash build. He managed to figure out ways to win on maps like Katrina and on Blue Storm, and just maps where you didn't think Terran would really do all that well. He's managed to, although Blue Storm's not really classically the map he dominated on, but he managed to beat Jadong on Katrina, which is insane. I'm getting, okay, there we go. A little feedback from caller here. It's kind of weird listening to myself, but anyway, I really want to see what Flash comes up with in this, and I've seen Stork just pull off some amazing things as well. So let's see what Stork decides to pull off as well.
Yeah, it should be a fun match. I mean, Outsider, I think I've said this a few times now. I don't really like Ash map world tile sets that much, but it's the map itself, the layout's pretty good. I do kind of like the map now that I've seen it played on a few times, but I tend to see like TVZs on it and maybe PVZs. I haven't really seen that many PVTs on it, maybe one or two. So I think this will be actually a really fun match to watch. I'm not quite sure what either player is planning on going here. I mean, it's generally kind of difficult to take that expansion right away, so we may see a 2-factory or something like that from Flash, though I doubt it. It looks like he's walling in, so he's probably going to go for the FD build instead. And Stork, it looks like he's just going to go for a one-base build for now. He'll probably go for, with the gas, I'm guessing he's going to go for a quick robotics. But I don't know. Maybe he'll go, I mean, he's one of those players that with Reavers, he's extremely dangerous. I don't see him go DTs as much, it seems. So I can only expect that he'll go Reavers. But I think that Reavers is actually a really good build on this map, just the way that it's all laid out. It's primed for Reaver drops. I mean, especially with that some of the expansions, the way that it's laid out. Having that dropship with some Reavers can just destroy mineral lines. So it should be fun either way. It looks like they're both going to scout each other in the right direction right away. Flash seeing that probe coming from the other direction, so going to swap up the direction that his probe was, this SEV was heading, and both players going to get a pretty quick eyeful of the other player. Actually, no, Stork is already walled out, so he's not going to get in, unfortunately for him. But I think with the Reaver drop, he'll find out what's going on pretty quickly.
It's a pretty good analysis there, Rise. I've been busy looking at the statistics of these two players, and very interesting. They've played so many games with one another. It's ridiculous. They played 16 games before this one, and guess what? Stork is actually up 9-7 in their overall stats. However, this does include some of Flash's early play, where Stork schooled him pretty badly in the '07 Dom and '07 Ever OSLs. He was 5-1 against Flash and knocked him out of both of them. Of course, later on, Flash would knock Stork out of the finals of the GOM TV, and then in the Bacchus OSL. So, I mean, both of these players definitely have been trading shots with one another. I wouldn't say this is really a heated rivalry. I think Stork is too much of a gentle Brontosaurus toss to allow any kind of heated rivalry, because he's just, seems like a nice guy. And you're right, there's a robotics facility. But I would say it's certainly a rivalry of skill nonetheless. Both players are, have been consistently very high skilled and contenders for finals. And certainly this should be a good matchup. I think Stork is definitely going to take advantage of his superior, his supreme Reaver play this game. And Flash, meanwhile, looks like he's gone for a fast expand build, as can be expected, sort of, I guess. This map is pretty macro heavy, so I do expect these players to get up their expansions. So let's see how Flash does here with standard opening against a Reaver drop.
Yeah, it looks like, well, first of all, we got that factory down, no engineering bay just as yet, and we'll see if a couple Goliaths pop out to try to assist. Either way, taking that expansion, that back corner, it's going to be very difficult should the Reavers come out, or even a shuttle come out with some drop. It's going to be difficult for Flash to defend both of these expansions. So he's really going to have to absorb some attacks here, and if Stork decides to transition it up, we'll see what he goes for. It looks like there's that observatory first, wants to make sure he gets a good eye into Flash's base. Looks like he's actually going to go for expansion before anything else. So going for the observatory for it's going to play a little bit more passive here. He again could go Reaver, or let's see if he just decides to go for a quick expansion immediately after this one goes up. Flash does have the economic lead, and really what will be critical is I think Flash, knowing Flash, will survive any sort of mid-game harass. What's really critical is the decision of tech past that, I think, for Stork. I think carriers can be effective on this map, but arbiters in particular, which I've seen a lot of Protoss favor, you got to be very careful stranding your armies just to take bases out. And I've seen a lot of players, what happens is they'll strand their army out at the 3 o'clock, or they'll strand their army down at the 6 o'clock, trying to take out an expansion at that location, and what happens is they just, the Terran immediately moves out and takes out their base because they just don't have enough reinforcements, they don't have enough at home base, so they sacrifice a base basically to win the game. So I feel like with arbiter play, it's almost a two-edged sword, where you have to be careful about how many troops you have on the ground, how many troops you're dedicating to drops here and there. But really critically, it's kind of the awkward over-base troop movement. It's not the standard troop movement where it's just out in the middle of the field. It's troop movement along kind of the periphery area that kind of, I think, is going to decide this match overall. It tends to be the decider on Outsider. But right now, it looks like Flash in a pretty good position. The Observer just kind of wandering in, and he's immediately going to go for a third expansion, getting a little bit greedy here. We'll see how Stork decides to respond. Stork is seeing that, and he's seeing, first of all, that command center being built, and he's also going to find this other command center already in production. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I don't think Stork's just going to try to play the economic catch-up game. I think he's going to go and either try to stop this expansion outright, or he might just decide to just go into Flash here. So Flash saying, I'm going to win the economic game. We'll see how Stork responds.
Well, he's definitely way behind right now. He's just now mining from that new expansion, and he's got to build another 2 to really get ahead, considering Flash is building another one right now. And I don't think he's really in a good position to attack, though. I think that for the most part, Flash is very well defended. I mean, he's only got a couple of tanks, but what does Stork have? Stork has, from what I've seen, it looks like a handful of goons. And until we start seeing a shuttle come out with, I would think a Reaver or something, we're not going to see too much action. But look at that, a starport going down. So it looks like, I'm guessing it's both for drops and maybe even a Wraith in protection from shuttle harass, which is always a good move to go, because it's just so easy to stop that shuttle harassment when you have just one single Wraith, because it can take it down so quickly. That on top of the turrets is just going to be very good defense. But also, this map is just prime for dropships. I mean, that one expansion at the top left that he got with the mineral line behind it, you could just drop a couple of vultures or a couple of tanks and pretty much shut that whole area down until the other player can get over there with a shuttle of their own. There's a stupid-looking golf ball-headed KTF mascot with his goggles on. Man, why do you have goggles on? It's like summer, isn't it? They're in the northern hemisphere. There's no reason to be having that type of mascot. Anyway, it looks like Stork is positioned outside the main base of Flash, and he has dropped a couple of goons, so it looks like he is actually going to try to do some harassment here. But of course, goons take forever to kill anything, so I don't see them doing too much damage in the near future. But looks like he's going to send in a Zealot, very beautifully absorbing a couple of attacks there. It looks like he's going to be able to take out a couple of tanks, and Stork actually doing a pretty good job here of taking out some units and making Flash think a little bit, which he hasn't had to yet. So putting some pressure on, but now it looks like he's going to be forced back a little bit, as it looks like Flash is starting to do a pretty good job of just defending all of his bases, finally putting up some defense. And Stork getting his 4th base now, by the way, trying to get ahead in this game.
Certainly, interesting choice. You know, both players basically just gonna not try to end it quickly, and I think that's a smart move actually from both, because both of them know each other. They know they're very good at holding off cheese. Stork, I've seen hold off, you know, all sorts of marine rushes and 2 factories like it's nobody's business. And Flash is almost uncheesable, actually. Flash generally loses games because his brain overheats. All those cores inside of his brain overheat, and he actually loses the games instead of the other side wins the games. But we'll see what happens here. If Flash can play his totally standard game, I think he's going to come out ahead, actually. There's nothing wrong with Flash's standard games. It's one of the best conventional games ever. And right now on this map, it looks like Flash has gotten himself a 4th base also. Both players just going for a super macro here. Usually we see some action by the 10th minute, but no. There's been basically that little bit of harassment from Stork, and other than that, Flash is just now getting his 2nd factory. You could definitely tell how macro-oriented these players are. I'm also curious whether Flash has an armory or not. That starport could just be for, well, it was for a Wraith, obviously, but it could be also for a relatively early Science Vessel to get that +2. And now looks like Stork is going to think about getting some goons in the back there. They're going to be temporarily successful, but of course once a tank or 2 gets there, those Dragoons do not have the ability to shoot anything anymore. But as you can see right now, they are able to slow things down a little bit here for Stork. You know, I don't think Stork would really benefit from going for carriers, but I would love to see it. Not a great map necessarily for carriers, but you know, I think Stork probably is going to have to go for some tech and some harassment, because Flash right now is picking up his 4th base, and you, as a Pro S player, you really cannot let Flash, of all people, pick up 4 bases.
I don't think it's a god-awful map for carriers. Obviously, you can't take them out in the open field, but you can definitely go attacking that 6 o'clock and that 3 o'clock across the expansions using kind of that cliffside, that abyss basically is a little bit of protection with that map edge. In the middle of the map, they're absolute death, so you just got to make sure you engage in the proper areas. But yeah, I want to say carriers would be a good option here, simply because Flash... Okay, we did already see Arbiters.
Yeah,
this is the problem, though, is Flash has gone extremely cheap on units. He's only been pumping out of 2 factories this entire time, and otherwise he's just pumping economy, pumping economy, pumping economy. And it looks like he's going to go for a very camper-like style here. Right here, Stork already trying to stop him. He's trying to get some cannons up here, and it looks like Stork just doing the slow protective thing. The question is at what point will Stork try to exploit the fact that, oh, and it looks like Flash putting up a little pressure. This is incredible that Flash is managing to put on some pressure, even with just the just a few troops he has out on the ground here. But it looks like it's just kind of a camper style that Flash is going for, and all Stork has to do, as long as he to kind of combat this, is try to minimize this as long as possible and stay 1 expansion ahead. But just the nature of Outsider with the mineral lines, with the tanks that can siege over the cliffside edge like that, I think Stork has got to mix it up and do something different. I don't think just continuing to do these little kind of pithy drops here and there and then eventually giving up territory, I don't think that's going to win it for him in the long term.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, man, how is this not super Terran favored? I mean, like, those tanks are just going to they're always going to win across that mineral line, especially with a couple of turrets up. I mean, what can you do? And now, oh my god, look at that. 4 dropships. It looks like Flash is ready to go on the move. It looks like they are actually caught by the observer. So Stork is going to see what's going on here, but I mean, really, does he have the mobility against those dropships to really fight them off? Effectively, at least. And I mean, now you're going to see again the power of, especially with those Goliaths right there. I mean, that Nexus is pretty much useless at this point. I mean, Flash will always win that fight. And look at this, Stork putting up another 2 bases. I'm actually surprised they don't have more production right. Oh, okay, there are a lot of gateways right there. I was surprised that he didn't have more. And look at Flash trying to get around Stork's base and do some more with the drops. But Stork at least hanging out over there with an Arbiter. And there we see 1 Nexus going to go down. Stork is just going to, it looks like he's really going to commit to just this Arbiter ground force tech. Man, I don't know. I kind of actually think that carriers might be a good option too. I think they might actually work pretty well against those mineral lines like that. You could use them as a way to kind of tangle up the Goliaths or whatever might come his way. But I got to say, I mean, Stork, it looks like he's ahead by 1 base, but still, and soon to be 2. But still, I feel like he's just going to be in trouble from Flash. I don't know if he's going to be able to hang on too long in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually being ahead of Terran becomes much harder once a Terran gets 3 bases. That's the magic number. If a Terran has 3 bases, you gotta be. It doesn't even matter if you're ahead. The Terran can always win just because they can produce so many damn units and just take out your main. And Flash right now is at 4, going on 5. But Stork is gonna be going for a big recall if his Arbiter doesn't die. His Arbiter does not die, and he manages to recall all over inside the main base of Flash. Flash, meanwhile, has oh man, he's gonna fly dropships almost entirely over the Dragoons. Alright, none of the dropships get killed, but Flash is committed at the northern side. His units are stranded, in fact, on a ridge. He's I guess, maybe brought some units back on this with his dropships, but this is a huge attack coming from Stork. Stork also pouring in from the front. Absolutely just amazing recall right there, textbook recall. I mean, best like recall. If you would, if you want to say best is one of the best recallers out there against Terran, which I would say he is. And this is really an incredible turn of events here for Stork. I thought Flash had the upper hand a little bit, but right now Flash is in danger of losing his natural expansion. His natural expansion is lifted, and there's still a couple units alive inside of his main base.
I really like what Stork did just prior to this attack. He had another secondary armor hanging out at basically above Flash's secondary, and that's what caught the dropships. I don't think it was the plan to catch the dropships. It was the plan to just absorb any attack that was pushing out. Actually, with those dropships, it looks like Flash is feeling, well, I'm going to be overextended. I need to make sure I have a lot of dropships out in the field so I can just drop a couple troops here and there and try to cover all this territory. And as a result, he ended up a lot shorter on the troop count in the mid-game. That's dropships that were not tanks, were not Goliaths, things like that. Had a much smaller attack force, and with that one recall that just got off, that's completely shifted the game. This attack force still running loose in the backfield. Stork moving out some more troops, and you can just feel the momentum of the game has completely swung in Stork's favor. Looks like that burning command center is trying to flee, trying to get away, but it has nowhere to run or hide. It's going to the protection of SCVs to try to survive here, to try to get repaired. There it's getting taken down, and it looks like Stork is going to be able to swing this economic advantage, and it looks like he's going to be able to continue actually to press into that natural secondary, which is very wide, very exposed actually, because I don't think Flash has any troops there, and Stork is going all over the map here, dropping, it looks like, at the 8 o'clock, sorry, the 7 o'clock, everywhere. He is everywhere, and I don't think Flash can deal with this.
Wow, man, he totally just made me eat my words, and I'm kind of glad, because for a minute I thought it was going to be one-sided, but man, you're right, the momentum is completely in Stork's hands, getting another base up. Stork looks like he's got about 7 bases at this point. And I mean, really, that's going to be pretty much unstoppable. He's just zerging. He's just completely zerging Flash at this point on all fronts. I mean, he's attacked 3 or 4 bases at the same time, and that's ridiculous. And now he's taken out the couple of tanks on the shelf, which is actually definitely very good, because otherwise he's going to be kind of locked off over there. And I mean, look at Flash. Flash is definitely working for it right now, and it could be a tough game to kind of worm his way back into, because he's spread thin right now. He's defending so many bases. You can see the vultures coming out now. Spider-Mine's a great way to help defend your bases, especially against the number of zealots that we're seeing out on the field. But Stork just able to produce so many units so quickly. We did see him building a lot of gateways before, and I was wondering what he was planning on doing with so many gateways, but I guess, he just showed us exactly what he was planning on doing, and that was owning Flash. But Flash is certainly still in this game by all means, I'd say, but Stork doing a very good job. You can see the line, the divide of green versus red on the mini-map. I mean, Stork has definitely got much more map control than what Flash has, and he's about to divide and conquer again with another great Arbiter attack, chock full of zealots. Man, but the one thing that he's got going for him is a ton. Oh, the D-Matrix going down on those tanks, but it is not going to be enough. But here we see the difficulty of trying to go up a Terran's ramp, and Stork very cleverly moving back, which is definitely his best option at this point. Recall, though, on another base. Brilliant, taking his attack force from one area to another. I mean, this is great. This is great play.
It is. I mean, even though he recalled on some mines, nothing he could have done about that, he has managed to get enough forces on the right side to once again take down this base. And once again, Flash is basically mining out of, Well, his main is almost gone. His natural's not up. He's got the left side, the bottom left, 2 bases, and one of them is only double gas. So basically, Flash is almost entirely not mining minerals. He's got 1 base at most mining minerals right now. I don't know if the right side got cleaned up or not, but Stork right now is definitely building out of maybe a dozen gateways here, as we're seeing. And Stork just keeping on the pressure. I mean, showing he can multitask as well as Flash can. Flash now getting dropped at the bottom left, where I was talking about one of his 2 remaining real bases. And oh, he's trying to drag some mines. Doesn't work that time. But there's Stork's first-person point of view. You know, Flash is one of those masters of multitasking. It's part of the reason why he does so well with conventional builds is because he can do a harassment at 3 different locations. But Stork is showing he can actually multitask Flash in this game and you know, certainly out harass him. Usually the Terran player wants to be the one on the offensive at this point of the game, but it's been the other way around entirely.
Yeah, and this is a game that Stork will win if Stork just continues to... Wow, look at that sweat. If Stork... Is that tears? Wow. Anyway, no, if Stork... that's got to be sweat. Flash does not cry. No,
CPU.
If, condensation.
Condensation. Anyway... Wow, I keep getting feedback from you, caller. It's really distracting. But this is a game that Stork is going to win. He's going to continue to just press around the peripheral edge. He's going to be able to continue to just harass these expansions. And as long as he keeps pumping units and keeps sending them out in the field, he will just, by war of attrition, completely dominate Flash, because just friction, time over time over time. That's a very nice drop, dropping away from where mines would be laid. It looks like he's going to come with a pretty sizable attack force from the south. Not enough to defend this, but he can just pick off little expansions here and there, force delay Flash's mining here and there. In the meantime, he's up in expansions and just producing more units. So as long as he keeps throwing out these attack forces, even if they're not successful, as long as they're pulling SCVs off the line, as long as they're killing a few tanks here and there, nice mine drag. And forcing these and forcing these expansions to lift off, he's going to end up coming out with this game with a win.
This is a brilliant play, man. I gotta agree. I love that recall. That was great positioning on that recall. Looks like Stork's gonna lose a non-functioning Nexus, but really, with the amount of bases that he's taken out from Flash, I don't think it matters right now. You can see that he's now officially got 2/3, if not 3/4 of the map. And I mean, he is just constricting around the bases of Flash. Flash has the entire bottom layer, basically, of Outsider. But look at this. He's going to walk in the front door. He's not going to be greeted by anything. And oh my God, look at all those units. I think we're about to see some crazy recalls. We do have science vessels. EMP, was that EMP going off? I couldn't actually tell. EMP going off, but not before Stasis catches the science vessel. And man, there is one science vessel left. I don't know if it has EMP, but I don't know if it matters at this point, because just Stork is so far ahead. He's forcing his way down Flash's choke, and I mean, it looks like he's going to back off again, but it doesn't matter. He's got so many bases on top of Flash that he's just like Diggity said, man, he's in war of attrition. He's going to whittle down Flash's troops, and basically he's going to starve them out just by continuing to take out units and buildings that Flash is going to have no choice but to rebuild, to redefend, and eventually Stork will win this game as he builds another base. Craziness.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, a factor in every StarCraft game you have to consider at the end. It does come out in a very long game to how many mineral patches you have, and Flash certainly is going to be mining out very soon, so certainly this war of attrition can be ended. And right now we are seeing Stork, I think, about to end it. He's going to take out one of the 2 remaining bases. I gotta say, Stork's been amazing with these mine drags this entire game. It's been ridiculous. He's definitely figured out where Flash has planted his mines, and he's definitely dragging them very appropriately, using his Dragoons even to drag. Usually Dragoons are useless for everything because they just suck, but they are actually able to drag mines here, and right now it looks like Stork is going to get cleaned up here at the bottom left, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I think Flash has 1 mining base right now, and Stork has like 3 control groups of Zealots. That's pretty awesome. Flash really, I think he should GG, but I mean, he's really he's played an okay game, I guess. It's just Stork has played a actually superior game. I'm actually surprised. Usually Flash beats himself, but I would say this time Stork would have beaten pretty much any Terran playing like this.
Yeah, I really feel like those drop ships, when they came into play, that again was just unit cost that was not siege tanks,
Definitely.
and the mobility really didn't pay off for him. He was caught out of position going for those drops. If he was going to go for an expansion game, maybe he should have played a little bit more defensively, and it looks like he's going to do two drops simultaneously, or two recalls simultaneously. I saw those two arbiters. Here's one, which is going to completely disrupt everything here, and I'm going to wait for a second one that's coming up. You can just see it on Flash's face. He's part of the reason he's probably sweating is because he's just had to stress so much over like these just drops everywhere, or I should say recalls on every portion of his base. This is going to be that is the nail in the coffin. Losing that expansion was everything. Stork, that was his last and here comes the second drop that I was looking for. Wow, recalling over everything that was left. So Stork waiting for the reinforcements to move over there, and now recalling. Maybe what Flash could have done differently is just have a single grouping that he kept around his bases, maybe even two groupings of like 4 or 5 siege tanks, and a couple Goliaths or something like that, where it would be able to respond to some of these recalls as they happened, rather than trying to do it through the dropship play, because the dropships really they're fat. You know, they can go over land, but they're not all that much faster. If you concentrate if you have an open mineral line, I guess maybe if you'd wait and take expansions. I don't know. It just feels like Stork just did such a good job of catching Flash out of position. The only thing I can think of is just don't go for the drops. Just rely on your defense, especially when you've invested dropships like that. But right now, yeah, Stork just showing his mettle, completely outmaneuvering Flash left and right.
Man, that was this was a great game to watch, man. And I gotta say, I think you're totally right with that call, Diggity. I think it was almost 100% because he went 4 dropships so quickly versus pumping units. I mean, he only had those 2 factories, and I mean, normally what you see is the Terran player, by the time they have 3 bases, they're going to have 4 factories at the very least, maybe 6. And I mean, we didn't see any units being pumped, and Stork totally just took advantage of that. And basically just making Flash look like a noob almost. Well, all right, not a noob, but he's been only defending this entire match since that first ridiculous attack from Stork. And I mean, since then, Stork has just owned this, and mine's going off on the ramp. It looks like that didn't actually go off. I don't know if it was taken out by the Zealot or not. And Stork just once again going to force his way up that ramp. And at this point, there is no mining at all from Flash. So Flash is definitely going to lose this match at this point. I think everybody knew that. But really, I got to hand it to Stork, man. That was a beautifully played game and so entertaining to watch.
Yeah, D-Matrix Vulture there. That's the first time I've seen that. Just trying to clog up that choke point. Obviously not going to work for very long. And there's Stork all the way inside of Flash's base. Yeah, well, yeah, at this point, right-click would even work. And does it really matter? I mean, Flash just wants to, you know, I guess keep going, and it's just his pride here. GG coming from Flash finally. And a very well played game. And Flash, once again, I gotta blame it. You know, it's the juice, man. KTF has got to stop messing around with his clocks in his brain. You know, they gotta stop messing around with the
no more steroids.
They gotta
they need to stop. Seriously, they're like, here's some steroids and here's some other stuff that's experimental, and you can just see it on their faces.
Rub
they
this
go
on
into
your
those games.
mouse fingers.
Yeah, they just he's torn up. Look at him.
Play for the next 70 hours.
Roid Rage.
Need to give him a break. Falling apart.
I don't know about that, actually. I think he's actually looking better rested than he was before. I think he just, like you guys said, he made a couple of decisions that didn't work out, and Stork outplayed him. I actually think he shouldn't be that tired, because he's not doing as much as he's been doing in the past. So,
thank you, Stork, for that GG. That was awesome. That's all I got to say.
All right, well, moving on. Hoja versus Jangbi coming up next.